there, lovelies. It's Isa Jenny. Welcome back to Psychology and Spoons, and today we are talking about outrage. Yes, outrage. So this video was inspired by an old high school classmate who posted an article about how some parents are choosing not to bring up their young children, infants, with strict gender norms. They're trying to allow them to kind of explore their own gender without putting anything on them. And so he shared it, and then he said, this is, just basically an outrage thing, like, this is ridiculous, blah, blah, what's the world coming to, blah, blah. That's it, right? So this video was kind of inspired by that because that was the perfect outrage moment, right? It completely didn't affect him in any way. He has children, but he's raising his children the way he wants to. And I'm pretty sure he doesn't know anyone who this pertains to. In fact, when I responded, I discussed, different gender categories, and he had a lot of questions about that. So again, clearly this wasn't something he had given much thought to. It's not something he really cared about, but it was just that outrage moment. He saw something, he didn't like it, he wanted to let everyone know he didn't like it. But I think in our society, we have a really big issue with outrage. It's really draining, so first of all, but I also noticed when I was watching some Facebook videos recently that there is kind of a trend towards reaction videos, but especially reaction videos that make you mad. So there's the funny ones, and then there's the ones where it's like, Karen caught on tape. And then, so I was kind of watching a couple of them, but then I'm like, well, why am I doing this? What's the point? I'm getting upset, right? But then what? So that's the question. So you get really outraged, you get really angry about something, and then what? How does it affect your life? Does it affect your life at all? Probably not. But the big thing with outrage is that then you kind of share it, and you want other people to share it, and we're kind of all engaged in this anger-fueled moment, but nothing productive typically comes from it, right? I'm not talking about serious social justice, social rights issues, like police brutality or something like that, although those are outrage moments too, but those typically have a more concrete outcome. People are engaged in those issues, and they think about them frequently, and they're making changes regarding that. What I'm talking about is you see a video of someone doing something you don't like, and then you are kind of consumed with this anger moment that is completely unproductive. Does it change your life at all? Does it change the way you think? Does it change the way you live your life? Or are you just is it like a guilty pleasure that is completely unproductive, which I guess most guilty pleasures are. It's completely unproductive, and it feels terrible. Outrage does not feel good. Does anyone feel good when they're angry? I hate feeling angry, but it is a valuable emotion. But this is, as a society, we have just decided to get mad about stuff. And stuff that really doesn't matter to our lives. So that was the big thing with this post that this high school colleague had posted, is it had nothing to do with his life. It did not impact him in any way, shape, or form. It was of no consequence to him, but it made him mad, and he wanted to share it, and he wanted other people to be mad. I think we have moved towards disengagement in a way, with our own feelings and with how things impact us. Now, I'm not saying that the only things that we should care about are things that directly impact us, because that's terrible. We should care about things that impact other people that don't have any impact on our own lives. But when it comes to outrage, it's a cycle, right? Okay, so it's a pretty clear cycle where we see something we don't like, and then we get really worked up, and then we share it, or we post it, or we get kind of consumed with it, and then maybe 5 minutes later it's gone. You're not really thinking about it. Or especially, like, are you going to think about it the next day? Are you going to think about that outrage moment? No, probably not. Yeah. But the other thing is, it's very finite. You can only be so outraged. You can only be outraged for so long, too. And then you just kind of, you need a moment, right? It's kind of like being sad. You can't be, well, no, you can be sad for a really long time. But, you know, you move on. You kind of, you have this like closure moment where you move on to another topic. But I think what's troubling is how much we're consuming these outrage opportunities where we are just wanting to be mad all the time, and we're seizing that opportunity. And here's the other thing, right? Buckle up, listen to this, okay? Because we tend to be super, super compassionate towards ourselves. I mean, I may not be. maybe you're not. Maybe you're really hard on yourself. But even still, even for people who are super hard on themselves, you are still more understanding and compassionate towards yourself than you are to someone else, right? So I discussed this before, but you know your internal story. You know what's going on in your life. You know all the stuff that you are having to deal with. You know that you don't feel well, that you've been dealing with sickness, that you've been really struggling with your depression. You know that you have a ton on your plate right now and you're trying to be everything to everyone and you're exhausting yourself. You know what's going on in your life and you extend yourself some compassion, right? So, you know, you don't get everything done on your to-do list. You're going to be more compassionate because you're like, oh yeah, well, I didn't get everything done on my to-do list, but you know, it's because I have all this stuff going on. Meanwhile, say your colleague doesn't get a deadline reached. Maybe they didn't do something they needed to do. Well, I'm sure your first thought is, why didn't they get that done? They needed to get that done. Man, I'm angry at my colleague now. They didn't reach their deadline. But meanwhile, if you didn't reach that deadline, you would think to yourself, crap, I didn't reach that deadline, but I am dealing with so much right now and I'm really struggling. So you have that compassion for yourself, but for your colleague, you don't think like, oh, I wonder what they're going through. I wonder if they have someone in their family with COVID. I wonder, you know, if their kids are struggling in school. I wonder if they are really having a tough time with their anxiety right now. You don't think those things. And honestly, typically you don't even care. You're just mad that they didn't get done what they needed to get done. And that ties into outrage too, because we see these Karen videos, right? We see these like videos where this woman is screaming at someone for something, and we don't ask what the context is. We don't ask what they're going through. We don't ask if they might be dealing with some serious issues. We just snap judgment. Oh, that's a Karen. They're terrible. Now, don't get me wrong. You know, the racist rants are not okay. The anti-mask movement that puts people in jeopardy, and then they're in constant combat with the store workers who are minimum wage employees who are just trying to get by, that's not okay either. But I am saying that we always have to take into consideration context. And we should really try to be more compassionate towards others, because we're not the only ones struggling, right? We are not the only ones struggling in the universe. Everyone is struggling right now. Okay, most people are struggling right now. And we can extend some compassion. Before we jump and make a snap judgment about someone, we should stop and consider what they're going through. That isn't to excuse things, right? That's not saying, okay, well, you know, they're dealing with a tough time, so it's okay that they did that. That's not what the point is. The point is for us to stop being so reactionary, right? And to stop making such snap judgments. Snap judgments are important sometimes when you need to make the decision of whether or not to switch lanes in your car, and you have to decide whether or not that's a safe distance. You might need to make a snap judgment about someone because of your safety, but otherwise, really, we can extend some time to people. We can be kinder. Like really, kindness is never wasted. And in this constant Karen-fueled outrage situation, we can choose to like kind of stop the outrage cycle. We can say like, oh wow, that's kind of upsetting, but like move on. Or you can just decide not to consume that content. You can say like, hey, things are ridiculous right now. We're in the middle of a pandemic. Our economy is terrible. Things are not great right now. And you can decide, hey, instead of watching videos of people being mad and doing inappropriate things, maybe I am going to be more productive with my life and I'm going to watch videos of cats. Maybe I'm going to read a book instead, or maybe I'm going to volunteer. Maybe I'm going to try and make a positive difference instead of just fueling the cycle, because outrage is not helpful. Except, when there needs to be a big public outcry. That's helpful. But otherwise, it's like, okay, cool. Some random person that you don't know, that you'll never encounter, yelled at someone in a store. Or this little, like, ridiculous white woman is having a meltdown over a parking spot. Okay. Is that really how you want to spend your time? Is that the life you want to live? I guess it's up to you. But I hope we all choose to be kinder and to be more intentional in what we consume. So I hope you found that interesting, thought-provoking. Please like and share and comment. And please stay safe, be well, and take care. This has been Jenny with Psychology and Spoons.